Okay, so in today's exercise, it's in the week 11 folder on the VLE. And it's not that either. 3 seconds. Here we go. Okay, so it is all relatively straightforward. There is a sort of step-by-step process in here. So just remind me, because I forgot, what does quantize mean?
You lock the notes in an actual beat.
Excellent. Okay, it's all about locking your notes in, and that is the definitive word there, locking. Okay, if you're like me and you can't actually play the keyboard at all, and you just sort of mash at it until something sounds good, then chances are you're probably not going to be able to play everything perfectly in time the first time. So what quantize allows us to do with MIDI is to take any notes that were slightly out of time and lock them to the nearest grid division, which means if I was to double click into my MIDI editor here, and these are the divisions of the grid. So you've got, if you just count along the click track, okay, so you've got big thick blue lines, darker blue lines to show you the first beat of every bar, and then you've got thin blue lines here to show you the quarter notes 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can look at that and you can see that this is slightly out of time. Okay, it's not really on the marker where it should be. So quantize allows us to select our notes and then to move them to wherever we need them to be. Now we could do it manually, one by one. Okay, and if you click on it, you can hear the sound of the virtual instrument sound that's getting triggered there. But that can take a while to do it all, manually, one by one. So what we can do is to draw this square around our MIDI notes, and we can program it collectively, which is what quantization basically is. So in the first few bits of this track, what we want to do is listen to what's already there. We're going to quantize the MIDI notes, which means drum parts, piano parts, all these things are going to get locked into time. And we're also going to change the velocities. What's the velocity of your MIDI note?
How hard it's been played.
Absolutely, how hard it's been played. And again, the definitive word here is how hard it's been played. Not always how loud it is, okay, but it's how hard that you've pressed down that key, the velocity of it. So in our little MIDI editor in here, I've got 2 available windows. I've got my main piano roll window. Okay, up here you can see that you've got the piano here, showing you what notes are associated with the keyboard. Okay, so we've got our kick, always usually on C, and then you've got your snare, etc., claps, whatever it might be, that opposite percussion on D. So you'll be able to find your notes just by kind of playing the particular key, or you can get into your piano roll and find them in there. Okay, just to addition the sound. Now you can go in here and you can draw in your notes if you want. You could find, say you want to have a clap sound coming in every now and again. You can draw that in, and then you can obviously move it to wherever you want it to be. Again, very time consuming to do it that way. And over the next few weeks we're going to look at alternative ways to all do the same thing. So we've got our quantization, which is to lock our groove into the beats of the bar, and also to stay along the tempo of the track. And then we've got velocity, which is how hard we're actually playing our key on the keyboard. Now velocity, as I say, it's not always a volume thing. Yeah, generally speaking, the larger the velocity, the louder the sound. But certain instruments, like sample-based virtual instruments, like drum kits, for instance, may change the sample that gets triggered depending on how hard you hit the key down. So a very soft one will maybe just be the beater, just sort of very lazily hitting the skin on the drum, on the kick drum, for instance. If you hit it really hard, then it actually triggers the sample where the beater was almost going right through the skin. So it can be a volume thing, but it's generally changing the character of the sound of the sample that's being triggered. Okay, so let's give it a quick listen. So it won't sound good, okay? Just be prepared. Okay, so you can obviously hear that it's out of time. Hopefully you can hear that, right? So you listen with the click track and it's ding, 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 solid. Okay, it doesn't move, doesn't deviate. But the drums I actually played manually, and of course I can't do that, so it sounded crap. So what I'm going to get in here is get in here and program the MIDI part to be in time using my quantization. Okay, so I've got all the little shortcuts and stuff you need all in here. So I'm just going to run through some of these tasks, and then what you guys to do is to spend the morning populating this song, tightening it up and then populating it with your own idea. Okay, so I hope you like the wee song. Again, I'm not precious about it. I threw it together very quickly. Okay, so double click into my MIDI part. So double click then takes you into this little sub menu, and in here what you can see is you've got your piano roll. What I want to do is put my grabber tool on and just draw a square around the notes that I want to quantize. In this case it's going to be kick. Now be careful, because if you select them all at once then you get that sort of sound. Okay, so I like to just go like that. Alrighty. Now in here you can see the velocities, you can see these are all different. We'll get to that in a little minute. What I want to do is quantize, so I need to use the shortcut Alt plus keypad 0. This brings up the little event operations window, and Alt 0 immediately takes me to quantize. There's loads that you can do in here. You can program everything from this menu, but for the time being up to quantize. And what I've said is here, let's quantize it to the 8th note. So let's take the bar 1, 2, 3, 4 and then split that into 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to then quantize or lock to the closest division of that grid here. So I click on 8th note and then keep a wee eye on my kick drums down here. Click apply, boom, they move into time where they should be. Now I want to do the same for the snare and the hi-hats. So both are getting quantized to the quarter note, so I'm just going to draw a square around all these. And Alt 0 and quantize it to the quarter note. Apply. So it's moved it all along. So now what should happen is when I play this along with my click track, I should be getting it in time. Cool, okay, nice, it's in time. Now it's a wee bit still kind of stock sounding because I was manually playing it in, so I was hitting things at all different sort of velocities, different intensities. So what I'm going to go in here now is program the velocities so that they're solid. So if I go in here and say that I want to make the kicks the same for each hit, I want to make the snares the same for each hit, but I'm going to randomise the velocity of the hi-hat so it kind of sounds like, as you might expect a drummer to do when they're hitting the hi-hats, maybe they're slightly out, you know, hitting it harder, softer. Drummers, any drummers in the room? Let's forget it, please. You know, generally speaking, when you hit your kick, the hi-hat's always marginally louder than any other kind of hit. So it means that when I'm programming like my acoustic drums for a song and I want it to sound like a real drummer, every time the kick gets hit, I'll go into the hi-hat associated on top of the kick and I'll lift it a wee bit, and it gives it as if the drummer's just kind of falling into the front of it, and it gives you a really kind of strong forward beat. Okay. Oh, double click, let's go in here. So I've got my velocities, so I'm going to click select my kick track to begin with. And we can see it's all over the place. Now there's plenty of ways you could do this. You could take each individual note and just drag it up, okay? But what I want to do is use this pencil tool up here. So I'm going to put the pencil tool on. I've got loads of different options in here. Freehand allows me to just kind of go like this, but you know, not very accurate. Pencil tool, go to line, allows me to just draw a straight line across, and then I can just kind of play it by ears until I've got it sitting equally all the way across. The way I visualise it is that I've drawn a line. Okay, you don't see a physical line, but imagine that you start here and you draw it across. It's like one taut line, so if you bring it all the way down, then the idea is that it would be like that. Okay, hopefully you can kind of see that. So again, you draw your line across and then it's like a straight line from that pivot point at the top. Okay, so I'll put that in, that looks about right. And then I'm just going to drag all these up pretty close to the top. I'm going to do the same for the snare. Clap sound that's in here. Again, if you don't like any of the sounds, you can go into your virtual instrument and you can change your drum kit if you want. Okay, but I quite like this kit for this particular part. Okay, so I've got my snare drum selected. Very quickly, just fire this through. Looks about right. Bring it up a little bit. Okay, and give that a listen. Cool. So for kind of EDM or dancey stuff, your kick and your snare doesn't really change velocity. They're always going to kind of output the same loudness, but you can of course in Pro Tools program it so it's much more natural. Last thing is the hi-hats, and I'm going to be quite clever with it, so I'm going to select them all. Okay, and what I'm going to do is rather than just use this line tool, which is going to make them very uniform, and it becomes very rigid, very unpleasant, I think, to listen to if you're trying to make things sound realistic. Okay, good for dancey stuff. So if you want to bring a wee bit of dynamics into it, what we can do is modulate every hi-hat hit so that it becomes a bit more natural. Now I use this tool all the time, okay, in my music, so I think it's something that is very commonly used in the production of pro audio, so I'd suggest you get comfortable with it. Go into the random sub-menu here, and what you want to do is you want to create a line across, which gives you your middle point, and once you get to the end of the MIDI notes, then if you drag the mouse up and down, it introduces this random factor to it. So you draw a line across to give you your central point, and then lift your mouse up and down, and it gives you the random sort of processing. So let's see what I mean. So I'm just going to draw my line across. So if you get your pencil close to where you started it, then you pretty much get a straight line. Now if I lift it up and down, I start to introduce randomness. Okay, and the further I get from my original point, the more random it gets. Okay, but again, I want to be kind of sensible. So something like this is just going to give me a wee bit of realism that perhaps wasn't there before. Okay, cool, it's up to you how you want to do it. This is really useful for hi-hats, especially if, as I say, if you're making it sound like a real drummer's playing. Drummer will never hit everything the same every time. So introducing a wee bit of randomness, it's going to go far to make it sound more realistic. So cool, I've got my drums now in time, for the most part. Yeah, as you listen across to it, you might notice little notes aren't quite there, but you can spend the time to figure that out. It's all about kind of listening and not just hearing. Okay, now what we're going to do is look at some of the extra functions we've got in Expand. Okay, now Expand I quite like. Okay, more often than not now as well, I'm kind of going back and I'm using Expand for generating quick ideas, but usually the ideas end up staying in the mix, and I can fatten out the sound just by introducing Expand as a texture. Obviously, you can use all your hardware synth technology, and it'll still sound really warm, really natural, organic, electronic sort of sounds. But Expand's pretty cool. Not only because does it come with hundreds and hundreds of presets, but you've got quite a lot of control over each preset as well, so you can modify and configure your sound to the nth degree in Expand. Okay, so I've got my arpeggiator in here. Doesn't sound like an arpeggiator right enough. And what you can see in here is that we've got 4 different available slots for our sounds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I change these MIDI channels to separate channels, then I can trigger the sounds in here using an individual separate track outside in Pro Tools. So I've got 4 different MIDI tracks here, and each of these MIDI tracks is built to accept information from a MIDI controller like a keyboard. Okay, if I go into bass, then it triggers the figure bass that I've got in here. Okay, if I go into the horn, then it'll be the horn. Okay, so I've got one virtual instrument with 4 different patches, all being triggered by an individual MIDI channel out with. Now we're going to look at how we set this up over the next few weeks. I know the folk that come from the NC might be quite comfortable with that, but Pro Tools is already configured to allow that to happen. So all you have to do is record your track if you want to add new ideas. In here, I've got my synthesizer. So what I want to do is make it an arpeggiator. Okay, I want to take away from just being this sort of legato performance, which is long notes. An arpeggiator will then split the chord into its individual notes and play them depending on the tempo of the track and the sequence that I put it in. Do I want it to be quarter notes? I want it to be 8 notes? 16 notes? Okay, who knows? But I can get in here and I can configure this to what I want it to be. So I'll just set up a wee loop for my playback here. So I'll go from here to here. There we go. And just hit play. Okay, now if you don't want to hear any sound, so I'm going to get rid of the bass. I'm just going to turn it off inside my little virtual instrument in here. just got my little pad. So in here I've got plenty of options that I can use. Obviously I can change the level of it. I can pan it over to the right, over to the left. I've also got two little buses in here, effects buses, that I can send the thing to. So I can activate the hall reverb and then send loads of this to it. Okay, so X-Band's cool. It is cool. I know it's maybe frowned upon. It's that kind of Behringer of the soft synth world, but I think it sounds pretty cool. Okay, and there's loads and loads of interesting sounds in it. Also up here you've got all your different controls, A, B, C and D. And you'll notice that anytime I click one of these, it'll then take me into this instrument here. So it is showing me the parameters available for this particular instrument. And it'll change every time you load in a new patch. Okay, you'll get a new bunch of effects, new bunch of parameters to control it. So you've got loads of things in here that you'll recognise, things like cut-off, which is just effectively a low-pass filter. Resonance, to add in more sort of presence, more modulation up in the higher frequencies, less noticeable if your cut-off's way down. Your envelope for attack and release, and then you can change different things like filter times and filter envelope in here as well. The main thing I want you to do in here is to activate the arpeggiator. So let's go back to here. Activate an X-Band channel 1 to configure as follows. So I need to go to the arpeggiator function and then put it on, and then I can choose what sequence I want to use, what division of the grid, how quickly do I want the arpeggiator to change between the notes effectively. Okay, so I get the arpeggiator, fire it on, and you can change the pattern. So it's currently set to up and down 3, which is what I want it to be, and to 16. But let's take it down to half notes here and see how it sounds. So I've activated it. And the number 3 means it's going through 3 octaves. Okay, so if I just hold in one C note here, it goes up 1, 2, 3, 2. Okay. But that might be too much. So you might want to take it down, up and down, just so it's 1 octave. If I add in any extra notes, it will start to arpeggiate that chord. That's 2 notes, 3 notes. Get it right, okay. Now try and keep it in time with your track, okay. If you got a track in 3/4 or something like that, and you've got it modulating around 4 notes, it might start to sound a bit funky. Anyway, up and down 3, and we'll change it to 16th notes. So what you get is now this really quick, nice movement. Getting to muse, that's how you do it, okay.
Can you get it to arpeggiate like not in order of the notes? Do you know what I mean?
You can, the options you've got in here, this is pretty much what you've got. You can do it so you can randomise it, so it'll just go kind of wherever. You can program it almost to the point where I'm sure you'll find something you like, but it could be that, for instance, if you're playing it on the grandmother, you need to get your timing right and all that. So if you wanted to go dun 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 dun, you don't always have to just hold in the chord, but you might need to like introduce notes after you've held in the first note, but it'll take a bit of time before it triggers the last note if you've played. That makes more sense when you're actually playing along with it. But in here, because we're using a digital DSP, we just kind of need to go with their patterns. But random's pretty good as well. But I know I want a specific sound. I want it to sound like the arpeggiator's going up and blossoming out before it comes back down. So in here, I'll just fire it on and give it a wee listen. Okay, and just hear it come in with a chord. Okay, just a bit quiet. Okay, so you need to go in there and you'll need to play about your settings, okay, until you start to feel it come to life.
Is there a way to record that while you're doing it? Can you do like rewrite?
For your parameters?
Mess about with the cut-off because it's sounding kind of cool.
Yeah. You can do things where you can actually map it to your keyboard. Get to that in a couple of weeks. I'll definitely show you. But if you just learn MIDI control change messages and then you put it in here, you can use that obviously. hitting. Good thing with Pro Tools is you just hit MIDI, you just hit record, and you program in those changes as you go. So it's pretty useful. Pro Tools was a nightmare at this to get it talking to your keyboards for a couple of years, but they really have sorted it out, the new version of it. Okay, so I'll just get a standard setting I like. Cool, so far so good. Alrighty. What I need to do is quantize the MIDI notes because they're slightly out of time. This is really important with your arpeggiator. Even if you're the slightest, tiniest little bit out of time, it can throw the whole arpeggiator and it becomes hugely out of time over the sort of course of your song. So double click. What was the shortcut again to quantize?
Command 0.
Excellent. Not quite.
Alt 0.
Alt 0, thank you. Good. Okay. I don't even know what Command 0 does. When it doesn't do anything, that's worrying. I might have deleted a track or changed my tempo or something like that. But we can see in here that I was way out of my timing, so I'm just going to draw my square over all this. Select my notes. And Alt and 0. And what I want to do is quantize it to the first beat of the bar. So it's a severe amount of quantization here. You should see it all shift forward. There we go. Okay, so now we're in time. So now when I listen along with my drums, this arpeggiator should be airtight. Okay, so if you're not happy with anything, go in here and you can change it all about. So there I thought I'd quite like that note to finish up right before the next one comes in. So I'm just going to select this note in here. And you can put your smart tool on, or if you just use this little trimmer tool up here, you can just drag out the length of your notes. Okay, now you need to make sure that grid is on. Grid is on up here, otherwise when you try to quantize it into the closest note, it doesn't conform to the grid, so it just kind of goes anywhere between it. So we want to make sure the grid is on. Cool, that sounds a wee bit better. Okay, I'm just going to fix the rest of these notes up while I'm here. Pulling them right up to the end of the bar. And I'll just drag this back a wee bit, it's just going on a bit too long there. Okay. Cool. Just going to double check, just always good to get the context. Much better. Okay, there was a wee gap there before, that was just a wee bit clunky. Nice one. Okay, where are we up to now? So we're up to the bass. So on here I've said quantize notes of the bass to the nearest 16th note, and then manually change any notes if they don't naturally match up with the groove. So sometimes you'll do your best, you'll fire in your quantization, but it just feels a wee bit stock, a wee bit out. So I'm going to get into my bass here, and just quantize it to the nearest 16th note. Okay, click apply, just a little bit of quantization. I'm going to get my velocities here, and I'm just going to use the line tool and bring these up so they're nice and uniform. So I've played it in manually a wee bit all over the place, and now what I've got is the ability to control it later on. So let's give my bass a little listen here. I'm just going to mute the arpeggiator, so I'm going to get into my X band and just turn it off. Turn my bass on. Okay, bring the parameters in for the bass. We've up to B. And I can now change my controls. Change it between monosynth and polysynth. I just want one note at a time. I don't want to be able to play chords. So if it's set all the way to mono, every time I hit the next note, it supplants the one that came before it. Can't play any chords. Take it up to polysynth. So, okay, cool. So let's give it a wee listen. I bring my drums in. Yeah. Okay, so you can tell it's a wee bit out. So it's these notes here, just seem to come in a wee bit early, so I want them to come in on the just a wee bit out. Let's just try moving it forward just a touch, if that was the issue. Cool. Okay, so even I'd put it to 16th notes, just a wee bit too, bit too quick. Coming in just in front of the groove, a bit too much there. Cool. So I brought that in. I like it. Now the good thing with Expand is that say you might find that bass sounds alright, but not that great. You might like it as a starting point. What you can do is you can say, right, okay, right, well, since that's coming in MIDI channel 2, I'll also bring this in the MIDI channel 2 and I'll blend in another sound with it. So I'm going to bring in something a bit more aggressive in here. Now the names are quite funny. Deep Fried, Incinerator, very good. Paul State, who knows? Let's go for the Razor, okay, something jagged. Okay. Okay, if you don't like it, then just hit the next one and it takes you through all these patches. It's better. Okay. And now I've blended in two bass sounds there together. So one of the best things about Expand is that you can have MIDI coming in and you can have 4 different blends of sounds in here. So if you don't find something you like in there, then you know you're probably looking for something insane. Okay. If I go back to my Word document here, so now we're up to horn number 1. So I've said in here, record in a simple melody on the white keys for the horn section. So the key that this song's in means that any note on the white, any high note on the white keys on your keyboard is going to be in tune, but it might not be that interesting. Okay, so I've already set up the parameters to take this in. So I've got my horn sound triggering patch number 3 in here, which is the alto sax. And we can also hear in here is that I've got some reverb, so I'm sending this to my first effects unit in here as well. Okay.
So that you that tune that was on Eurovision.
Which one?
the guy dancing. Like,
Again, which one? Did it win it?
No, but it was a pure meme. The guy was dancing.
I know, it's like, I was listening to the radio, Smooth Radio the other day, and it was a Tina Turner track, and it had like a MIDI sax solo in it, which I imagine at the time people were like, you know, I said to the future, you know. And it was like, it was that pure horrible kind of pitch bend thing to make it sound natural. Very probably, you know, as I said, modern or even postmodern at the time, but didn't age well at all. So the saxophone, obviously like the guitar, you need to be very careful with it. Now MIDI sax is using synthesis to create the sound. It's not using real samples. So if you are at any point putting horns into your track, make sure you try and use sampled virtual instruments rather than synthesized ones, because this is just using loads of little sine waves, modified, filtered, EQ'd to make it sound like saxophone. Okay, so this could work, it might not, but I'm just going to try and play something along with it and see if I can get something that works. But of course, when you've got an audience, the first thing to play is usually crap. Okay, so I can, now that I've armed my track in here, the horn track, I can just hit 3 on the keypad and I'll just start recording. Okay, I've got my click track coming in here to count in with it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me just solo this. Remember, don't solo just your MIDI track, solo inside Expand. Okay, so I'll just take the other 2 off and give this a listen. Cool. Okay, now again you could play in on the white keys there and it would have sounded okay. It could have sounded kind of in tune. I'm just going to quantize this as I go. So I'm going to have to zoom in here and check the notes out. So I can look at the divisions of the grid. So I'm set to 16th notes. I think that should be okay. Looks like a wee bomb note. Oh no, maybe not. Okay. So I'll set these up, 16th notes. Cool, that's tightened up a wee bit, and give it a listen. Okay. So obviously the downside of using one virtual instrument to handle multiple patches is that if you apply any effects to that channel after the synth, after the sound module, it affects everything that's there. So keeping them in individual tracks obviously has its good points as well. Okay, so I've said in here task 2, change the parameters and expand for all the sounds to get the most out of them and put your own style on top of the track. Well, that's what I've been doing as I've been working through that. Just make sure when you make any changes up here that you first of all activate the set of parameters for that associated patch. Otherwise, you're going to make a change to something, not hear what you're doing, but completely ruin your other sound. Okay. Now, after that, it's all just about following the instructions that are there. I don't really want to talk for much longer in here. I'm just going to very quickly do this little part in here. So I've said cut and loop the drums. So use the selector tool, which is what changes the function of the mouse, and Command E to make the cuts. Once you make the cuts nice and solid, then you can just duplicate them or loop them across, whatever it is you want to do. There's several ways of doing that particular thing. Always make sure you've got the grid function on when you are making your changes here. Otherwise, you're not going to be, you can't guarantee that the cut that you make is going to be a solid, nice tight loop. Okay, so let's find the start of the bar. So it looks like it's going to be around about here. So put my little selector tool on. So now I can go anywhere in the clip, and when I click here, and then I only can go to divisions of the grid. See that? Even if I click in the middle. If I put on slip, I can go anywhere. Okay, keep grid on please. If that's too wide a division, then you can change up here. You can go into 64 notes. Okay, and it splits your bar into 64 equal little divisions. Anyway, okay, so let's find the start of the bar. So just listen for that loud click. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so I know it starts a bit early, but this is the actual starting of the performance. So I've now got my little region here ready to be cut. So Command and E makes that cut. Now I want to find the end of the bar. So it's basically the start of the next bar. So you can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and just make a cut. So now I've got a solid clip in here. Okay, now what I can do is I can then loop that around, Alt and R to repeat it. Take 3 repeats, and now I know that that just duplicates across. I could also Command D, and it just puts one in next to it. It can be a wee bit more economic for your time if you are, of course, only doing a couple of little repeats there. You can Alt and drag it, which creates a copy of it. You can use the little loop function up here and just drag it out. Okay, as I say, loads and loads of ways to do the same thing. I'll just use Alt R. That's what I always use. You can make up your own mind, and it creates these 3 extra little parts in here. So it should be in time. Cool. Just going to do a wee quick balance. Okay, that's it folks. After that, what I want you to do is to start putting your own ideas down onto this track. But the main thing I want you to take from it is the quantization, velocity, making your edits, making sure you know how to use expand in there, play about with parameters, see the difference that it makes. If you don't know what a cut-off is, don't worry, that's why you play about with it. Remember in the audio game, it is legitimate when you're communicating with somebody to mouth the sound of something. What's the thing that makes it go right? You go, flange. What's the thing that makes it sound like it's going underwater? Oh, that'd be the cut off. You know, because it's a clear way of communicating with other people that we know how something should sound. But obviously to communicate better with our peers, we want to understand what these kind of terms mean. So there's loads and loads of little cool wee functions in here that are very kind of basic to get your head around, but just play about with them, understand how they change the sound, and then the understanding that underpins it will come later on, I guarantee you. Okay.
Is this session early?
Yeah, week 11 folder on DAW. Does anyone got any questions? You want me to run over anything before we crack
Can we
on?
use a keyboard?
Yeah, grab a keyboard and you need a USB. If you want to do drums or anything, then you can grab one of the wee drum pads, the MPD 18, like that.